And so then we'll have Deputy Kesner come up, make a presentation. We'll ask him some questions, and then Chief Perkins will do the same. So without further ado, introduce the panel and Jason Smith.
Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you for having us out tonight. I usually like to walk and talk, so I'm going to try to be restricted here and behave. I do have a tendency that I like to run a little long, so I'll try to be mindful of everyone's time tonight. Thank you to Lake of the Woods community for inviting us. I wanted to share a little bit of information about the Sheriff's Office because I feel like we all see so much that goes on television, and we might have things that we think of about law enforcement, and we might not really understand how law enforcement works here. And I want you to have an understanding here in Orange County of how law enforcement works. So as you know, there are 123 sheriffs in the Commonwealth of Virginia. Every sheriff's office is run completely different. Some sheriffs are responsible for law enforcement, some are responsible for courts and civil process, some are responsible for jails. We have a little bit of gamut of all of that. So from our standpoint, I like to say that we are a full service sheriff's office. We are responsible for investigating crimes, responsible for the courthouse and civil process. We have animal control. We conduct investigations. We have school resource officers. The only function as the sheriff that I'm not responsible for, although I do sit on the jail board, is I don't have the responsibility of a jail. We have a central regional jail here in the county that I do sit on the board for. Sheriff's deputies are a little bit different than police officers. Police departments are essentially run, there's a police chief that is voted on or put in position by a town council or a city council. That chief works for that council, and they have police officers. Their typical authority is enforcing criminal laws. A sheriff, as you know, is an elected official. I work for you. I work for the people. So every 4 years, you decide whether or not I'm living up to my end of the bargain here, and you want to continue with this this process. I work for the people. When the deputies work for me, they are at-will employees, meaning I don't have to have any reason whatsoever. If I have a deputy that needs to be removed from office, I have that authority to do that. So we're a little bit different from police officers in that respect. Police officers have their own Bill of Rights. They have typical unions and such. But again, you know, it's a little bit different for being a deputy sheriff. Here in Orange County, as you know, we have 343 square miles with a population of about 38,000 people that live here in the community. You guys are essentially on the more populated end of the county. In this particular 15-ish square miles of the county, we have a third of the population of Orange County down here, about 12,000 people. So you guys have a lot going on here. My agency, I have 59 sworn deputy sheriff positions. Up until the last year or so, I had 19 positions in our patrol division. Those folks are out here 24/7, 365, handling any types of calls for service that come out. They're serving criminal arrest warrants and enforcing traffic laws. I have an investigations division made up of 6 investigators. They're handling your major crimes like your murders, robberies, rapes, financial crimes. They get a lot of sex offense cases, frauds, and things of that nature. I have 8 deputies in my court services division. 6 of them are primarily at the courthouse, making sure that the normal day-to-day operations are running smoothly and that the patrons, judges, witnesses, everybody is protected. 2 of those members in that division are out here serving civil process papers every day. We serve about 10,000 civil papers in a year's time, typically between those 2 deputies. I have 11 school resource officers. We have 10 schools here in the county, so I have a deputy essentially for all of the schools now. For as long as I could remember, we had 3 school resource officers covering all 10 schools. So we're very fortunate at Orange that we have SROs. Every locality is a little bit unique in the Commonwealth. As far as animal control sometimes falls under the county where they don't have any enforcement or arrest authority. They work for the county. And then there are localities in the Commonwealth where animal control falls under the sheriff's office, as it does here. My animal control, they are deputy sheriffs. They go through the law enforcement basic and training just like all the rest of us. They go through additional 3 weeks of schooling to become animal control officers. I myself am a certified animal control officer as well. So that's a little bit about us. I've got myself and 3 others in administration, making sure the normal day-to-day operations are running smoothly. You'll get to meet, if you haven't already, Deputy Kesner that runs our TRIAD program. And then I also have a training lieutenant and public information officer that works for the agency to make sure that we keep up with our standards as such. So that is a little quick rundown of who we are. I'm trying to be mindful of my time, but I've been at the sheriff's office now. I just hit 22 years. I've lived in this county my entire life, grew up on a family farm out in the Lahore area of the county, and I'm very proud of my roots, proud of this community. Like I said, I grew up here, and I hope to be here for as long as the people will have me. I'm very fortunate. I worked for a great sheriff. Sheriff Amos retired in December of 2023. I was elected. And so in my first 2 years of office, I was already set up for success. We have made a lot of changes, and we have hit the ground running with a lot of things that we have done. I'm very proud of those things. So I do want to hit on some of those things tonight. And again, I'll be glad to take any questions later if you have them. As we closed out 2025, we handled 19,060 calls for service. We served 840 arrest warrants. We served 9,590 civil papers, handled 26 mental health transports across the state. So I don't know if you guys are aware, but if we have to deal with somebody who's having a mental health crisis, if we take them to a hospital and they need further services, if it is determined that they have to go to a hospital that can provide those services, it's our responsibility, because they're a resident of Orange County, to transport them anywhere in the Commonwealth of Virginia. So we go down to Galax, Bristol, Petersburg, Virginia Beach, you name it. We have to take Orange County residents that far to get those services that they need. We extradited 9 people back to Orange County last year. We didn't go quite as far as we did the year before, but for some of the states that we went to were Texas, Maryland, New Jersey, North Carolina, and Delaware. We conducted 4,531 traffic stops, worked 800 reportable and non-reportable crashes, took 978 criminal case reports, conducted 16,435 business checks after hours, handled 1,153 inmates at our courthouse, completed, I had 1,614 concealed carries that came across my desk that I had to do the backgrounds and sign. In addition, we try to do a great deal of community engagement events as well. Our drone program is thriving. We're able to deploy them in the field. These are useful tools for locating missing persons, wanted subjects, providing overwatch for our deputies, as well as assisting with training and other community type events. We try to keep our community informed as much as we can through our social media and Facebook. If you have Facebook, please, if you don't have us or following us, please look us up and start following us. So, we try to keep the community as informed as we can with some of the events that's going on, especially weather-related events, traffic crashes, and things of that such. We have a drug take-back box now at our public safety building where we can dispose of expired or unused medications safely. We have a live scan at our courthouse now where we are able to send digital fingerprints from criminal transactions straight to the state police. We have one at our jail currently, but we added one at the courthouse. We have implemented school speed zone cameras and replaced all of the flashing lights in those school zones to date. So we started going live August the 18th, I believe, of this year. We have issued over 5,188 citations so far to date. And that was with the Flat Run School probably not operational for 2 months where citations were being issued. This is for people that are speeding 10 miles an hour or more during those hours when the school zones or those flashing lights are operable. So it's a lot of violations that are occurring with those. We work with our school system to bring a company called Centegix in. This is a wearable device. It looks like a badge. So our staff members, if something happens in our school, they're able to push a button. If they push it a couple times, it declares that there's a local emergency within the school. And we can send administrators, SROs, medical staff, because it could be for anything. You know, a student has an injury, it could be for a fight or whatever. It will tell them exactly where that incident is on the school property. If they continue to push that button, we can essentially put that school into a complete lockdown. So if there is in the event that there is an active shooter or something major that is happening on campus, it indicates, it notifies everybody, it takes over essentially all the technology in the school. It takes over the TVs. It's got strobing lights in all the classrooms. It's an automated system. It tells us exactly where the problem is on campus. So those are one of the things that we're proud that we have implemented to keep our students and staff safe. We've replaced all of our tasers that are no longer supported. We now have a bloodhound named Cairo that has been trained and certified. We have a German Shepherd named Harry that has been trained and certified for narcotics detection and patrol work. We have individual first aid kits for every car in the agency. So heaven forbid something happens to one of my deputies. Everybody has a kit in their car that can hopefully handle major bleeds and such. We completed an agency open house for the community last year. Our TRIAD program added a senior buddy program for folks to be checked on. As you know, we have a lot of folks in the community that maybe don't have friends or family close by, somebody to check on them. So we offer that program for them. We added a program called Predictive Index. This is some type of, it's basically like a personality trait program. We want to make sure that we're hiring the right people to work for you, for the citizens. With the assistance from county staff members, we added a safe exchange zone at the public safety building. This is a video recorded location for transactions. So if you purchase something online, you're maybe not sure about the person you're purchasing it from, you want to make sure, you know, that you're having that transaction in a safe location. So we have a place at the sheriff's office where you can come, it's under camera. So if something happens, you're right there at our building and it's recorded. We installed cameras in the courthouse holding cells and all of the cells off the courtrooms. So our courthouse was renovated in 2005. We have never had cameras in our holding cells. So this is absolutely critical for security and safety at our courthouse. So we have now installed those. We can now digitally track inmates coming through the courthouse. We can track our mental health calls and prisoner transports that we conduct. We are in the process of getting an AI program for reviewing all body camera videos to assist us with making sure that my deputies are acting in a professional manner. With the assistance from county staff, we added a small canine building at the sheriff's office so they can have more space and our cruisers are not always having to run with the canines inside them. We've completed a tremendous amount of agency training geared towards real issues or tasks that our deputies have to deal with on a daily basis. We've worked on discipline uniformity so it's fair and equitable, as well as letting our deputies know up front the consequences of their actions or inactions. We now have a promotional process for positions that come open in our agency. I allow my deputies to complete volunteer hours for different entities in the community. We purchased Guardian lights for all of our patrol from a grant to keep our deputies safe. These are a wearable light. It's got a strobe in there. So if they're out working a traffic crash or directing traffic, they are able to turn that on. So hopefully it will alert motorists and my deputies won't get hit. We now host 2 youth academies a summer and a citizens police academy once a year. I know there's many members here in the audience that have been through our citizens police academy. I've been a part of the program since the beginning in 2007. We enjoy doing it for the community. It is about a 10-week long program. We meet once a week for 3 hours a night, and we let you come out and learn about the sheriff's office and what we do. It is free. We don't hold anything back. You know, we want you to understand what we do as a sheriff's office. We're going to tell you the answers. You might not like what you hear, but we don't have anything to hide. We want you to understand what we actually do, not what you see on TV. Okay. So again, I brought applications. I'll leave those for folks or anybody that's interested. I believe the program will start in March. It is typically Monday nights and we end, I think, the first week in June. We started a bicycle program from scratch with donations from Albemarle Police Department, community members and entities, several of those entities down on this end of the county. So we really appreciate this. This program allows our deputies to engage our more populated communities like Wilderness Shores, Lake of the Woods, and both towns. We have also assisted Gordonsville Police Department with starting a bicycle program and are currently working with the town of Orange. And Deputy Ron Kesner is the lead on all of that. So he has taken this role. Basically built this program from scratch. So he's definitely my go-to on that. We are very proud to have a soft interview room at the sheriff's office. You guys all see interview rooms on shows and things. They're a little intimidating, you know. It's just padded walls and a table and chairs. We have a soft interview room for child victims of crimes. You know, it's the last thing you want to do. It's to re-traumatize them. They've already had a horrible experience. And so we have now created a soft interview room through our victim witness program and grants to where we can conduct those child interviews. We worked with the Board of Supervisors and county to add 4 overhire patrol deputy positions. As I said, prior to last year, we had 19 positions in patrol. We now have 23. These deputies are out 24/7, 365, handling tons of calls for service. Think about how big this county is, and when you break that down for 24/7 coverage, that's about anywhere from 3 to 5 deputies out at a time to cover the whole county. It's not a lot, okay? One DUI, if we stop a vehicle from beginning to end on a DUI investigation and taking them to the jail and processing them, that's assuming they don't have to go to the hospital, you're looking at over 3 hours that you've taken that deputy off the street. We investigate a lot of deaths that occur in the community. Those death cases, once we go there, we can't leave. You know, you're looking at 3 to 4 hours per pop. So when you think about how big the county is, with the population size, you know, that our guys, it's a lot of calls and cases that we're working. We've helped, I'm sorry, we are currently working on a complete agency policy overhaul. And so those are some of the things we've done. These are also some things that we are very proud of. The following are grants our agency applied for and received in the past 2 years. We received a DMV grant in 2024 for $18,000. We received that grant. We also got 2 LiDARs for speed enforcement. Those are handheld speed enforcement devices. In 2025, we got another DMV grant for $18,000 plus 2 radars. So this allows deputies outside of their normal shift to come out and force traffic violations and people speeding, drunk driving, you know, breaking the law. So that helps pay for that extra coverage. We received a $85,000 Faro grant. This is a device that will allow us to do 3D imaging of crime scenes. You know, I like to think that we are a small sheriff's office compared to some of the ones out here in the Commonwealth of Virginia, but I'm very proud of the technology that we have. This is a device that essentially sits on a transit, and it will take 3D imaging of whatever that location, whether it's a crime scene, you know, accident reconstruction scene, something like that. We have that capability now. We received a grant for $51,000 for our entire agency to have Team Wendy 10-year ballistic helmets for all of our people. As I said, we got a Guardian Light grant for our patrol deputies to have those wearable lights. We received a grant for $43,000 for our taser replacements. Received a grant for $25,000 to replace one of our drones. We recently received a grant for $41,760 for a Forenscope latent camera. This camera will literally take photographs of unprocessed fingerprints. So imagine you touching something. I don't have to throw fingerprint powder or dust on it. You can take a picture of that and be able to use that as evidence. A couple weeks ago, some of my deputies and investigators were doing some training. Again, some of the technology we have is absolutely phenomenal. We have a camera that is more so for body fluids. This thing is so good that you can literally take, like if your drink container, we can take a photograph of that and we can see your DNA on that device. One of my folks has a cover-up tattoo. We took a photograph of that. You can actually see the original tattoo from where it was covered up. So the technology, when I started in 2004, we were running around to payphones in the county, and that's how we would communicate. We were doing handwritten reports. We have the technology now. With my phone, I can be anywhere in the world and I can talk to my people on the radio system. I can see through an app all the people that are working, where they are on a map, and the calls for service. Our partner agencies like Fire and Rescue, we're able to see them, to communicate with them. Orange County's in a good place with emergency services. So I'm very proud of that. And then lastly, I know I've probably gone over my time. Lastly, I'm very proud to say that, back when I ran for election, accreditation was a big topic that came up. I'm not opposed to accreditation. I just knew accreditation is tough. It's tough to get. And I knew that priority coming in day one, me being a new sheriff, I had a lot to do and a lot to learn. And so it has taken almost 2 years, but December 1st, I signed on for accreditation. So that gives us 3 years to get it completed. And it allows us to show the community that we are following best practices of other sheriff's offices and chiefs and police departments here in the Commonwealth of Virginia. So we're very happy. We're in a public safety building. We moved in October of 2001. We've got nice equipment. Things are going, knock on wood, they're going good. And I'm very proud of my people. Like we had a staff meeting the other night, and I told my people, I'm like, this isn't me. This is the work that you all are doing. Yeah, I'm the one standing up here talking, but I'm not the one that's out there doing some of the phenomenal work. I have some of the most talented people. It is so impressive to see when we have a major crime scene, all of the people that come together, the knowledge that they have, the expertise, and to see these people in action, it is absolutely impressive. But it's not me, it's them. So that's a little bit about me. I'll be glad to answer any questions you have. And I think I've probably gone over my time a little bit, but
Take a seat over there.
Sure.
Take
Okay.
a load off your feet. Thank you, Sheriff. A few questions. How would you describe the relationship between the Orange County Sheriff's Office and low security? How do you interact with each other? Yep. Push. Oh, you're good.
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
All right. So for as long as I can remember, now you got to keep in mind, I've been off of the road for several years. But our road, we have a good relationship with Lake of the Woods Security. These folks are your front line. As I said, my patrol folks, I got 23 people to cover 24/7. This is a big county, a lot of calls, a lot of cases that happen. Security, we rely on them. The relationship that we have has to be good because we want to provide you the best services that we can. There has to be an understanding, and I think we do a pretty good job of it, that people need to understand, if something criminal happens, if there's a crime that occurs, the sheriff's office would be investigating it. The security folks, they're going to arrive on scene. If you call 911, that is going to come into our dispatch center. They're going to take that call for service, figure out what's going on and who it needs to be dispatched to. If it's something Lake of the Woods can handle or get there soon before we do, then they're able to get there and maybe de-escalate the situation before we come and essentially take over the case. So you also have to remember, because you're at a gated community, in your association and your rules that you have, there are many things that Lake of the Woods Security and their conservators can enforce in your area that we can't, right? I operate off of state laws and local ordinances. I don't essentially enforce your association rules and regulations. So hopefully that will answer that question.
Thanks. I meant to mention this before we got into questions. Even though we are not the LOA board, we are a committee appointed by them. And so we'll follow the same rules that they do for questions and discussion. I don't have the spiel, but basically we're going to keep it civil. There won't be any personal attacks. And as moderator, I reserve the right to filter questions. So
Thank you, Dave.
Yeah. Should I be worried?
Sheriff, would you give us a quick update on 911 operations?
Okay, I will try my best. Whoever wrote the question, if you need me to clarify something else, I'll be glad to. So when we moved into our new building, we consolidated. It's the sheriff's office, our administration for fire and rescue, our county IT, and our 911 center. We are all in our public safety building together. Those folks have really good equipment. We have good dispatchers that are out there working 24/7. They have a nice center, and they're able to communicate better because of all of our new radio systems with all of the entities that's involved. So very proud of that. The one thing that I will say we do get some complaints on, although there's a reason for it. A lot of times what they use is a system called it's Pro Q&A. So depending on when you call in for some type of an emergency, depending on what that is, it is going to prompt certain questions. They're asking you questions because they need that information. It helps first responders on scene. I know it can get a little frustrating, especially when you've been involved in a motor vehicle crash and you just need somebody there right then. Keep in mind, yes, they're asking you a lot of questions, but they're dispatching us to the scene and still continuing to ask you those questions. So it's not like the questions that they're asking are delaying response. So I just want to make sure people are clear on that.
How do you see the overall crime rate in Orange County, and what are the crimes that concern you the most?
Ooh, that's a good question. I was not prepared to look at statistics. I would like to think in Orange County, especially we were talking earlier about the crimes in Lake of the Woods specifically. We work some domestic violence cases. I know there's some vandalisms in here. But one of the bigger things we've seen in the past couple years has been fraud and scam type cases. We are getting so many of these things where people are sending thousands upon thousands of dollars out to scammers. So it takes us quite a bit of time to work on and investigate those cases. You know, all that digital evidence, it's a lot. Times have definitely changed from when I was on the road to what they have to know now dealing with cell phones and banking information and such. But, you know, without having the raw data in front of me, I wouldn't be able to tell you specifically. Like I said, that's the crimes we see here in Orange County: vandalism, shoplifting. We get a lot of motor vehicle crashes. We work a lot of domestic violence cases, and again, a lot of fraud cases.
Speaking of motor vehicle crashes, there's a VDOT plan for the 3 and 20 intersection that's drawn a lot of conversation here in Lake of the Woods. And I know that they've done some modifications to that intersection over the past few years. Are you aware of an increase or decrease in the number of accidents down at 3 and 20?
I'm not aware. I know we still have accidents there. We have accidents across the county, but we do have them there. Now, as far as whether they've increased or decreased, I'm not sure. So just so you know, the sheriff's office does investigate accidents, but our partnering agency, Virginia State Police, investigates a lot of accidents as well. So there are times where they might work the accident and we're not there with them.
Are you asked by VDOT to weigh in or provide statistics?
On occasion, but I have not been for that particular intersection. So the one thing about it is when we investigate reportable crashes, it all goes into a system through DMV, through TRIAD, whether it's us, whether it's state police or whoever. So VDOT pulls a lot of their statistics and data from those crashes that are already submitted to the state.
What are the hours for the flat run school traffic cameras? How often is the radar calibrated and checked for accuracy?
All right.
I won't ask anybody who wrote that one.
I actually think they're on 24/7.
So I don't know the specific time off the top of my head. However, we did add signage if you're leaving the school parking lots for that. So the flashing lights have been there since the building was built in, I want to say 2011. The speed limit through there hasn't changed when the flashing lights are going. It's typically, don't quote me on this, but it's typically 30 minutes before the bell rings and 30 minutes after the bell rings at most of the schools where parents and buses are dropping kids off. The normal speed limit when it's not that time through that section on Flat Run is 40 miles an hour, right? When those lights are flashing, it is 25 miles an hour. The one thing about it, we've had concerns or questions from folks about, can we post the times on there? Well, that's great, but the problem we ran into is they're not approved VDOT signs, so we cannot post them. The other thing is when there's like a school delay or early dismissal, that's going to fluctuate depending. So yeah, you really have to pay attention. When we went forward with this program, folks that do receive citations, it is because you're going 10 miles an hour above that speed limit. It doesn't go against your DMV record. It doesn't go against your insurance or anything like that. But it's a $100 civil penalty. And our goal is to slow people down. That has been the goal for years. For as long as I can remember, we got a lot of complaints from school staff about the amount of people speeding. And when we did the study, it showed people were speeding. And we are still seeing that people are speeding. So you all are aware, I have one of my captains who leads the program, and I have two of my patrol sergeants that have to verify. So all of those citations, we have to verify that the lights are flashing, and that in fact is the vehicle in the tag that is doing before that they can approve it. So you have a right, if say you're the registered owner and somebody else was driving, you can fill out an affidavit saying who the person was that was actually driving, and that it can be transferred for them to have to pay that fine.
How to make friends and influence people. Last question, and you've already largely answered this, but why is our HOA paying security officers to police when our taxes pay the county to do that, such as DUIs, accidents, leaving HOA premises?
Yeah, so that's a great question. As I said, so I've discussed this before. There are some I consider some legal issues. Again, we enforce state and local laws. We don't have the authority to enforce whatever rules and regulations that your association puts together. Because you're a gated community, I know that there was an ordinance that was created. It started in 2014. It was revamped in 2015 that allowed the special conservators of the peace to enforce some of your traffic violations inside the lake and take them to the Orange County Courthouse, because I believe you have your own association court that handles that. We, and what I consider to be private property, we have the authority as far as traffic. We can enforce DUI, reckless driving, hit and run on private property. But again, you got to keep in mind 343 square miles. It's a big county. Back when I started, it was one deputy. I worked this county many nights by myself, and I would go from Route 3 to Route 33. And, we can't be everywhere all the time. What I typically tell people is, outside of Lake of the Woods and the private roads, there's over 931 miles of primary and secondary roads in this county that people want traffic enforcement on. We put a speed board trailer years ago on Route 20 in front of the airport. We're able to capture data with that as well. We know that there are 4.5 million vehicles that travel Route 20 alone in a year's time. That's one road, right? It's probably 45 miles from one end to the other in Orange County. That's a lot of territory for when you're only talking about 3 and 4, 5 deputies out at a time. That's a lot of ground to cover. So, it's so important that if you want the services, that's why Lake of the Woods Security is to me the option for you, because they are able to provide you services that unfortunately we aren't able to. We have to look out for the entire county, not just one small section.
Can I add something to that?
Go ahead.
Sure. I'm kind of going to speak on this for just a minute, just from a personal standpoint. I think it's important for everybody in here to understand that Sheriff Smith is your elected sheriff. He represents everybody in this community. And just because you live in Lake of the Woods and just because you're behind gates doesn't mean that you're not going to get services from the sheriff's office. And what I want to expand on by saying that is that when you call 911, whatever your problem is, I know for a fact that in every staff meeting we've ever had, that Sheriff Smith has said to every deputy in our agency, if you are called to respond to a concern of a citizen, you go meet that citizen in person, you field that complaint, and you figure out what's going on and you try to help them. Now, obviously, Lake of the Woods Security is here. And as I understand it, you've got a number that you can call Lake Security directly. So you can make a decision when you have an issue. You can call Lake of the Woods Security or you can call 911. But I definitely want you to know and that when you call 911, you are going to get the service of the sheriff's office. And we will work with Lake of the Woods Security to make sure that your problem is solved. So I just didn't want anybody to have the impression that you didn't have that option, that we weren't in any way, shape, or form concerned about what your issue is, because we will definitely make sure that you get the service that you deserve.
Well, great. And with that,
Dave, one last thing
Yeah.
that I would mention too, and the chief can probably expand on this more. So when you guys think of Lake of the Woods security, I don't know if some of you realize this or not, but some of them are special conservators of the peace that are approved through me, through our circuit court judge, that gives them the authority within Lake of the Woods. They have arrest authority. If there's a crime in here that occurs, they have the authority, just like I do, to make that arrest. So keep that in mind with this. So they're a valuable asset to our agency and a resource, and we're proud of the relationship that we have. We try to have a great relationship with all of our partnering agencies here in the community. So,
well, and to be clear, it's the association's decision to hire security at all. It's not Orange County's decision. So the Lake Association has decided to engage security and pay them. And so it's our decision, not Orange County's. With that, turn it over to Deputy Kesner.
Good evening, everybody. All right. So I'm going to ask you to back me up on something here real quick. If everybody in here likes to see an officer on a bicycle and have that one-to-one conversation with them, do a whoop whoop on 3. 1, 2, 3, whoop whoop. Oh, that was fantastic. Thank you. Don't you wish? I'm gonna pull this thing out and walk around a little bit. So listen, first of all, I was gonna ask you to join me in a roaring rendition of Sweet Caroline, but I can't remember the words because the dementia's back. One of the things that I tend to do when I talk to an audience is I kind of look around. You know, you should always try to figure out, you know, who you're talking to. And I'm looking around and I'm seeing that there's a lot of people in here tonight that are a little up in age. So before I get too far into this, I want to make sure you can understand what I'm saying. So I've got a question. I got a question. Thank you. I have a question for you before I start. It's going to test your cognitive ability. Why does a seagull fly over the sea? Well, we got one person in here that has cognitive awareness. Did you hear that answer? Well, if they flew over the bay, they'd be called bagels. All right, look, I'm going to see, what time's this over? 9? Okay. So what I want to do is I want to try to parse this out into 2 areas. And if I don't get to the second area, that's okay. But I wanted to give you, first of all, a brief overview of what the TRIAD program was. And the TRIAD program was a program that was born in the mid-1980s in Louisiana. A sheriff in Louisiana had experienced a lot of his seniors becoming victims of crimes. He kind of got together with his staff and he came up with the idea that if he could put together some resources that he might be able to make his seniors less victimized. So in that regard, he pulled together outside service providers. He put together a council of local citizens and sat down with law enforcement in his area. And they started to listen to the citizens, find out what their problems were, and then try to find a way to make them safer. And because it brought those three pieces of together, it was called TRIAD. So if you're looking for the acronym that TRIAD stands for, it doesn't exist. But it does stand for the ability to bring these three service areas together: law enforcement, senior service providers, and citizens of the county together to solve problems. And that's just what we try to do. Now, our triad here, because this idea took off so well, it went national. And over a period of the next few years, law enforcement agencies from across the United States start to adopt this. And in the case of the state of Virginia, the Attorney General's office in the late 1990s, early 2000s decided to adopt this concept and push it out to law enforcement. And then in 2003, who was the sheriff here? So C.G. Feldman, the sheriff here at the time, felt that the TRIAD program was strong enough or was important enough that rather than just leave it to the whim of citizens in the county to try to put it together, he decided to hire someone to become a coordinator and run it from the law enforcement side. Fast forward in 2019, Sheriff Amos hired me and to be the TRIAD coordinator. I was the first TRIAD coordinator to have law enforcement experience. And I think that that brought us way ahead leaps and bounds. And luckily enough, Sheriff Smith has been kind enough to keep me. So, yeah, thank you very much. Anyhow, that's an overview of the program. And I wanted to do a quick demo of some of the programs we provide. Three of the biggest programs that we provide are the Project Lifesaver program, the Emergency Pendant program, and now with Diana's help as part of being the chair of her and Don Kay being the chair of that committee, the Senior Buddy program. I'm going to give you a brief demonstration of how the Project Lifesaver program works and what it is. So if you have a loved one that suffers from dementia, Alzheimer's, autism, traumatic brain injury, or any other cognitive issue that might cause them to wander from a safe place or from a caregiver, then Project Lifesaver is something that you might want to consider. Project Lifesaver is a radio transmitter that can be worn on the ankle or the wrist of the affected person. And we put that transmitter number in a database. This transmitter can be tracked on the ground up to 2 miles. It can be tracked mobily as well, up to 3 miles. And if necessary, we can get into the air and we can track this anywhere from 5 to 7 miles. So I'm going to give you a brief demonstration of how it works. And hang on just a minute, just to show you how we would find somebody. Maybe. Don't fall out. We'll put the battery. Reason why I got here early, apparently I forgot to do that. You can probably hear that chirp. That's the radio signal that is assigned to this transmitter. Here's what we're going to do. Put your loved one with it. Now, time to find it. I'll tell you, we have 8 of these receivers out in the field. They are given to get on each shift so that hopefully no matter what time of day or night somebody goes visit, call Project Lifesaver client is wandered away, we can assign a deputy immediately to that call. We have the receiver who can begin a track. In addition to that, the mine run station, EMS station, also the Berryville station, their duty officers trained and have a receiver on the duty truck 24/7. They are co-dispatched with us. So hopefully, in the first world, you have at least 2 units responding to a lost person immediately to practice training. In addition to that, have several volunteers and training how to use the equipment. We have volunteers that the woods that have the equipment. We have volunteers at Town of Orange that have the equipment. Volunteers at farms. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give this transmitter to one of you, and you're going to go get lost. Right? What I want you to do is I'm going to turn my back for a few minutes. Don't do anything to the people. Okay. But I'm going to ask you to pass that transfer to someone in here. You can hold it in your hand, you put it in your pocket, put it around your neck, whatever. Don't hide it in the room. But and I'm going to come and find it. That's how accurate this is going to be. Okay, go ahead. Yeah, you're ready.
Like I go see.
Now, show you that how it can be directional. No, I'm pretty sure the transfer is in this direction right now. But I turn this user away, figure out. It's gone.
Almost like you doubt yourself for a minute.
Never sure. So rest assured, loved one is wearing that transfer. When we get the call, we have people that are trained to go out and find them. Now, interestingly enough, the reason why that particular demonstration is so important is because a person who has become lost, tired, and has wandered around for a while, generally we can find someone with a transmitter within 20 to 30 minutes. No, not as much as an hour, but the search goes quick. We're able to take a normal search. For instance, we had a gentleman who lived over the Wilderness Shores who went missing about 3 years ago. And he was 73 years old, really good shape. And there was an app on his phone that Stanley tracked him with. Well, one day he went out walking, the app failed, he didn't come home. 38 hours later, after we had searched for him with a lot of manpower, an airplane with infrared, 2 drone teams, and a canine, we were unable to find him. 38 hours later, he tripped the game camera 2 miles away from where he was missing, and we were able to locate him. Okay. We talked to the family, got back to lifesaver, and within we put him in the program. He went missing 3 times after that. We found him within 20 minutes of time. So speedy recovery is important. So one of the other programs that we have is the emergency pendant program. We've gone to this particular pendant right now. This is a mobile pendant. This operates off cell power. If anybody's interested in it, I can talk to you about it in depth later. But this is predominantly for someone who's prone to falls, and if they might need assistance, can't get to a phone in their house or something like that. It's designed to be worn around the neck, fit in the shirt, whatever. If you need assistance, yes. Oh. I'm back. Anyhow, so the pendant has an SOS button on it. When I trigger the SOS button, what it's going to do is it's going to hit off the closest cell phone tower, and it will go to our emergency communication center. So I'm going to give you a brief demonstration of how that works.
SOS alert has been activated. Click SOS to stop. Calling contact number 1.
If there's a contact programmed in there, such as a family member, it will call and text them.
Yeah, this is the emergency.
Hey, this is 89, and I'm doing an emergency pendant test at the Lake of the Woods Clubhouse. Oh, and by the way, you're on speaker. Hey, you're welcome. Thank you.
Here.
Bye. No, I know. I realized that after. I don't know about you, but I'm at the clubhouse. Now, in addition to being able to activate the SOS button, the other feature that's packed into here is fall detection. And I'll give you a quick tutorial of how that works. Oh, I know what happened. I didn't. Let's do this again. I've fallen and I can't get up.
Has been canceled.
So that works. It works really well, believe it or not. The reason why it didn't go off the first time is because I didn't disconnect from 911. Anyhow, we put out typically about 30 of these a year. We offer this pendant to people who have those challenges for getting around and may be at risk for falls. This pendant cost us $200 a unit. We fund these out of donations and grant money that we raise throughout the year, and we will gladly offer them to anybody that needs one at no charge. There is a, we ask if you can afford to give us a donation back. If you want one of these, then we ask that you do that, but if not, that's fine. Our main goal is that if you have a problem, we want to try to help you solve it. And if one of those problems is that you might be challenged in mobility and you might be at risk for falls, we would much rather have you have this than not. So that is, it's a life-saving device, and it does have additional features from the vendor that you can sign up for. Like, for instance, there's a service for $15 a month that, as dependent in its current state, most of the time it will give us your precise location. But because it operates off of decommissioned cell phone numbers, every time it goes to a tower, it triggers a different number. So primarily what we tell people is, in its current state, when we issue it to you, you need to be able to talk and tell the 911 operator where you are. But if you want to sign up for the $15 a month service, it gives you GPS location, and they can also put names and telephone numbers of people you would want notified that you've had a fall before it calls 911. So if that was your neighbor or a family member or something like that, you could do that. But I'll be happy to talk to anybody about that later. The Senior Buddy Program. Senior Buddy Program is designed to, Diana, help me out here with this so I'd get the wording right. But the Senior Buddy Program is primarily designed for those people living alone that don't have a lot of contact with family or friends close by. And if you know someone, or if someone is interested in that program, you can call me and I can help set that up for you, and we'll get the committee involved. Basically, what they'll do is they'll come out, they'll meet you, they'll bring a bag of goodies out there, talk to you about the TRIAD program, find out what who your family is in case we need to contact them in case of an emergency. But they're going to call and check on you at least once a week. So you'll be assigned someone that will call and check on you to make sure that you're okay. Now, I know Lake of the Woods does a lot of that through LowLink. So this is not to supersede LowLink or do anything like that, but this is a county-wide program. It's for anybody in the county that might feel like they need that extra set of eyes on them in case something happens. So the other thing I wanted to address real quick is the scams, the current scams that are going on out there. I think this is really important. I'm going to give Sheriff Smith a big kudo on this, because he's doing something that a lot of law enforcement agencies, quite honestly, just don't have the balls to do. Pardon my French, sort of. Thank you very much. So here's the thing. Most law enforcement agencies, when you call and try to report a predatory scam, are going to tell you that they don't have the manpower or resources to handle that call. They're going to tell you that because these are primarily foreign predators, that we don't have the reach to prosecute them. And they're going to tell you to call the FBI, or to go on the internet and go to ic3.gov, which is the FBI scam reporting organization. But basically what you're going to get is, I'm sorry, I can't help you. Now, when it comes to normal fraud type stuff, where you're dealing with someone who might have written a bad check, or used your credit card, a family member or a friend or something like that you didn't get authorization to, those law enforcement agencies are going to step up and go, yeah, we'll take that all day. And you know why? Because that's an easy solve. If you have used his credit card, I'm going to get you. I'm going to get you. But if you're in the Middle East and he's used your credit card, we got a problem, right? Okay, so Sheriff Smith wants everybody to have service. And when we get a call for a fraud, we don't care. We're going to look into that fraud, and we're going to try to figure out if we can help you. Here's the thing. Most of these frauds are not solvable. Most of them are not solvable, not the current ones we're experiencing. However, that doesn't mean we shouldn't try, right? So what's going to happen is, and it's going to be to his detriment to a degree, because we're going to take these fraud complaints and we're going to document them and we're going to work them as far as we can, but the majority of them we're not going to solve. What does that do to your crime reporting statistics? So when you're looking at our crime reporting statistics and you're seeing these nice, B&Es, crime solved good, vandalism, crime solved good, whatever, and then you get to frauds, you might see a very low clearance rate there. But it's because he's made a decision to take your report and work your case the best that we can. Now, to give you an idea, maybe 80% of you in this room might report a fraud to us and we can't solve it. But what about the 20% we can? Wouldn't it be important to that person to get their money back? A lady called me one day, said her husband had written an $80,000 check and sent it to Miami, Florida. I worked with the FBI and we recovered that $80,000. Just recently, last year, it was in December and early January, a gentleman was a victim of a predatory gold scam. That individual was a Chinese national. We were able to get enough information together that we were able to get an arrest warrant, and we recovered him in Georgia, and he is now back in our custody. And we're currently tracking down bank accounts to see if we can recover money. Another lady in our county reported a predatory scam. We caught the courier in the progress of picking up the money, and we were able to recover $21,000 for her that she had lost. There have been countless numbers of these cases that we've taken reports on that if we have gotten on them quick enough. For instance, a gentleman called in one day and he said, I downloaded an app on my phone because I thought I was going to get a refund. It was an Amazon thing. He said, it said I'd purchased something I knew I didn't purchase. I called the number. They said they told me what to download on the phone so I could get a refund. He went to get the refund, and guess what happened? Instead of a $250 refund, it was a $25,000 charge out of his account. We got on that fast enough that we traced that money to a bank in Florida and recovered those funds. So all I'm saying is be mindful when you report one of these crimes to us, we're going to go to the mat to try to solve it. But we may not be able to. But I just want you to know that your sheriff, your elected sheriff, has made the decision to go to the mat for you to try to solve that crime. And because of that, it might be a low clearance statistic. Have I got 2 more minutes? So 3 of the top scams we're seeing, right? Thank you very much. Was that on camera too? So listen, here's the ones that are most prevalent right now. And I was in a meeting yesterday with Diana and got a call on this one. Sheriff Smith was there. Lady was sitting in a parking lot, had withdrawn all the savings out of her savings account because she thought she was going to be arrested. She was in a parking lot getting ready to buy thousands of dollars worth of gift cards. So the top scams we're seeing is what I call the Federal Trade Commission scam. That's the one where they're going to contact you and say, your money is not safe, your account's been hacked, and now it's associated with an internet porn scam, and we're on the way to arrest you. Don't trust anybody. Go get money out of your account. Give it to us. We'll make it safe. You create another account. We'll give you the money back, and everything's groovy. Well, it's not groovy because the minute you take the money out of the account, it's gone. The arrest scam, which is exactly what we dealt with yesterday. This lady had been threatened with arrest. She'd been told not to contact the sheriff's office. She had been told that if she contacted anybody other than dealing with who she was dealing with, she was going to be arrested. Luckily, she thought about it just before all the money was taken. Text scams. Those are the ones where you're going to get the pop-up on your computer that says you've got a problem or that your computer's been hacked and that you need to call a certain number. What they're going to do there is they're going to have you load malware onto your computer. They're going to see everything that's in there. They're going to get into your bank account, and somehow or another, they're going to force you to send them money. So don't do that. The best defense for these scams is education and looking out for your neighbor and your friend. Because there's no way that we can catch all these people. It's like whack-a-mole. So the only way is to be as educated as you can and for you to look out for each other. And if you see someone that's standing in the CVS cashier's line and they got 10 gift cards in their hand and they're on the phone talking to somebody, that's a predatory scam in progress. And if you can't make them stop, call us and we'll send somebody. Also, the other way is to be educated is we're going to be having our Lake of the Wood, our annual TRIAD Senior Safety Conference again this year at Lake of the Woods on April the 29th from 9 to 3. So we'd love to see you there. And we'll have speakers on scams, and we'll have some other keynote speakers there on other topics, and we'd love to have you. And with that, sorry it took so long. How much time did you want? You can have this back.
Thank you, Ron. I don't know about anybody else in here, but I've gotten very popular in the last couple months. I've been invited to 3 dinners. Anybody else gotten any Evite invitations to dinners? It is a scam, and I was just talking to the sheriff about it earlier. Got one. My wife got one today, and there's no date or time on it. But they say if you click here, we'll provide the date and the time. So I emailed the person who invited me to 2 different dinners, never got a response, and I thought somebody's picked that off. So I texted her and said, "I'm delighted to come to your house for dinner twice." She said, "Yeah, they got my email list and we're emailing people." So if you get one of those, either call or text the person to get details, and chances are it's a scam. Paperless Post, Evite, they're using a bunch of these. A couple questions, and I want to save some time for Chief Perkins. What is Smart 911, and is it used in Orange County?
Smart 911 is used in Orange County. Smart 911 is a national program that's rolled out through a private vendor throughout the United States. We have to pay a subscription fee to belong to that. And Smart 911 is like, if you're familiar with the File of Life that we give out to people, it's like File of Life digitally on the computer. So what you can do is you can go to the Smart 911 website. You can create a profile in there that is completely secure, and you can put a lot of things in there like whether or not you have a pet in the house, whether or not you have somebody that's disabled in the house. You can associate your car and your license plate numbers and all of your phones and who your emergency contacts are and your medications. If something happens and you're a part of this profile and the member agency, which we are, you call 911, all of that information is going to pop on the screen. The dispatcher can immediately see it. So while they're dispatching emergency services to you, they can turn around and start calling an emergency contact. They can also advise emergency services of what your medications might be and your medical issues. And say, for instance, it was a fire, or let's just say you passed out in the house, maybe your pendant activated, and now you can't really talk for yourself. We're coming to help you. So if you're laying on the floor and we go up and try to get in the door and all of a sudden we hear a big dog barking, we don't know if that's a friendly dog or not. We're not going to enter. We're going to have to call an animal control officer possibly before we can safely enter that home. But if we had your Smart 911 profile, we would know that that dog was friendly. We would know that we could enter, we could know what the dog's name is, and we could go ahead and try to assist you. So it's something that is, I would encourage everybody to be a part of. And then if you're in another part of the United States where Smart 911 is active, same thing. So.
Great. Thanks, Chief Perkins.
That was it.
How y'all doing? I'd like to thank y'all for allowing me to be here today with you guys. Give me a second here real quick. So I'm just going to go over a little bit of notes that I've been trying to take and stuff with you guys while I've been attending this meeting and everything. So my police force, well, I'm sorry, my security force is only about 20 officers, and we're taking care of almost 8,500 residents plus in this lake. We try to handle everything that we can with you guys when you guys call. We try to make sure that we're there as soon as you give us a call. I'm having officers dispatched to you guys. Our biggest issues that we're running to the lake right now are speeding and vandalism. Speeding is a big issue right now, and I know a lot of people get upset when they see us out there and we're slowing them down, but that's what we need to do. Our roads are small. Our roads are not like most of the county roads. We got small roads. Some roads are very small. Sometimes two cars trying to get between are hard to get through sometimes. We got to make sure our roads are clear for emergency crews coming through. A little bit about my access and stuff like that also. So last year we handled over 700,000 people coming into the lake. This was just visitors coming into this lake. We stopped over almost 500 to 600 passes that did not belong to people trying to come into the lake that did not belong in the lake, expired passes and stuff like that. This has all been since I've been here since April of last year. So I've only been your guys' chief almost about a year going on here pretty soon. So we've had over 232 traffic stops. We've answered over 1,462 calls since, I would say, April to January are what our call volume has been since I've been in here also. I enacted the 100% ID check, which is actually a rule that belonged to LOA from the very beginning. It's been part of your guys' covenant from the beginning. When I came on board, I made sure we followed it. I know it pissed off a lot of people, excuse my language, because we started to follow this. We had a lot of people coming in. We started asking you for IDs to make sure you are who you are coming into the lake, because I want you guys to feel safe. That's what you're paying our contract for, is to protect you guys, your homes, your property, and your roads. Jason Smith has been very great with us, allowing us to do what we need to do. I only have a few scope officers that do work here. I am working on trying to make pretty much most of my team scope officers, so we have a lot more. I have a lot of armed officers at the time right now too, which we are working on trying to become scope officers. Scope officers actually can do a lot more traffic stops and stuff like that, which we are trying to do. And understand that we don't send everything to Orange. We do a lot of traffic stops and we bring them to the lower courts where you guys will pay a fine. We're not trying to be out there and bullying anybody thinking, oh, we're going to send you to Orange and you're going to pay all the court fines and all this stuff also. We're doing what we can to slow down people, because we have people walking the roads all the time. We have children out there sometimes too. We have a big issue right now with e-bikes. Children on e-bikes acting up on the roads and stuff like that. That is a hard issue for us to handle right now, because it is something still new for a lot of communities to deal with. And it's been a couple times we've gone to the courts. We've lost a couple of court cases trying to go to the courts on these things also right now. And it is kind of hard when you get a lot of these foreign e-bikes, because they don't have the labels that they should be having them. So it's hard for us to tell what classification an e-bike is sometimes also. So that is a big thing that we are dealing with right now too. Like I did say, one big thing you're going to start noticing also is welfare checks. When you guys call in for us to do welfare checks, that is a big amount of calls that we do here. Kind of just like with 911, we're going to start making sure that we ask a lot more questions before we go out on these welfare checks, because there are times we go to do a welfare check on somebody and that person didn't even understand why somebody was there at their home, why they're checking on them. We had that recently. They're like, why is my neighbor calling for me? Well, your neighbor hasn't seen you. They were concerned. So we come out to do the checks. We get a lot of calls. We have no issues going out to check on anybody. We want to make sure everybody's safe, especially during bad weather. That was one of my big things during the last board meeting I pushed out to everybody. If you have a concern about a neighbor, check on them. If they're not answering you, give us a call. We'll come out and check to make sure they're okay also. I did have an officer get injured just recently doing a welfare check. So understand when we go out on these calls too, sometimes it's dangerous for us to be out on these roads sometimes too. We had to slow down patrols a little bit because the roads were very slick with a lot of ice and stuff. The storm that did hit us was a very big storm that actually, a lot of us were not expecting how much frozen the temperatures were and how much everything kept freezing over. Right now too, you're seeing a lot of vehicles parked on the main roads. We go out and check those vehicles to make sure that EMS, fire department, emergency crews can get through. So sometimes you will see a vehicle parked on the road. Normally we would make people move these vehicles, but right now a lot of people still have driveways that are frozen. They get into the driveway, they're going to get stuck. They're going to slide into another vehicle, into their homes. So we've been a little bit lenient on that. The temperature's starting to warm up a little bit now, so we are going to start to enforce that a lot more also. That's one of the big things that I like to go over a lot too is, especially with access and stuff like that. We're about to be coming up into our busy season here pretty soon. So we're just starting to get prepared for that, bringing on more officers, more access, people coming in. I know a lot of people ask about that second gate. Why is that second gate never open? Well, it's not open all the time because when they first built the thing, the contract wasn't built for that. But we are working on that. We are trying to bring in more officers. When we have special events, I bring in more officers to try to help cover that second gate for you guys to make sure we can start trying to do a lot of things. I can also sit there and say too, the GM's got a lot of good ideas coming up that we're going to start trying to implement this year coming up, especially before 4th of July and stuff like that also. So, I mean, you will see a lot of changes coming on. I am working on trying to bring in a dispatch system for us to have in our vehicles now also. So that way, when we get calls, we can have our calls put into queues to let officers know where we need to go next. And so sometimes it's a call coming through while we're on another call, and it takes us a little bit longer to get to that call. But if I have a free officer, we can send an officer out there a lot quicker and stuff like that also. And I thank you guys also for allowing me to be your guys' chief of security also. I've enjoyed my time working with you guys here. I, look for years of working with you guys and stuff like that, keeping you guys safe. And like I says, my office is always open to you guys. Whenever there's a complaint, as soon as I get a complaint, I'm responding to you guys, even if it's from the board or anything like that, because I do want you guys to understand I am very open about my job and my team and the relationship we have with Orange also. These are great people. Like they do say, when we go to these calls, we are going to be the first ones there for you guys. We are going to try to help this de-escalate any sort of situation that may be happening as much as we can before the sheriff's deputies do show up. Sometimes we don't need them to show up because we've already taken care of the situation. We've cleared the scene. It could just be a minor little dispute real quick. But I do want to thank all of you guys for everything and the time that you guys have given me here too also, all right? Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Got a few questions for you. They took it easy on Kesner, so I think they loaded up for you. What are appropriate things to call low security for, and what are inappropriate things to call?
Well, anything that's an emergency, we always tell you guys call 911. We're not 911. Usually we have to actually call dispatch from Orange to tell them if we need something else out there. So I would actually recommend, like, if you guys are calling because of kids playing around, suspicious people will come out. Those are the calls that we'll be answering all the time. I do have patrols pretty much driving around all the time as much as we can also. I mean, understand we do have a force that's 24/7 here also.
Couple questions on the front gate. One is, why don't you accept passports at the front gate?
We do, well, there is one person that we're mostly checking for our driver's license. That's what we want you guys to understand. When people are coming in and they're driving in here in the lake, you'll be amazed at how many people do not have driver's license coming into the lake. They get into car wrecks, it's going to cause issues because now you have a person that we have no identification of. We don't have the technology like the sheriffs have where they can run your IDs and stuff. We don't have that. So when we approach a vehicle, we're pretty much blind most of the time until we find out who you are. So that's the reason why. It's to protect you and your assets when you're here in the lake.
Okay. Question about the training for the staff at the guardhouse at the front gate. There's a situation a number of people have observed that sometimes when a member is coming in and they're on a roll, they get partway through the chute and the light turns red on them. So how are those guards trained to safely?
Well, we do try to maneuver the lights with the traffic flow itself. I can honestly tell you one of the biggest issues we have are the members flying through the lights. Sometimes they just don't pay attention to the lights. They think the light is just there as a decoration. I do not understand that. We've had passed the stop signs, the lights themselves. So sometimes we do get fender benders because somebody's trying to jump the gun to beat the next vehicle coming through. They do try to, sometimes we get big trucks in and we can't see the other lane sometimes, even with cameras. So sometimes what does happen is we do turn the light a little too fast and stuff like that. But they do. We do have cameras and we do try to monitor traffic as they're coming through. But like I do say, sometimes I've been there during this where that's actually happened to me, where I've been coming through the light and they've switched it kind of quick. I go in and I do tell them we got to make sure we're watching that because a lot of times, like I do say, a lot of members do fly past the lights and we try to stop that from happening so there's no wrecks and stuff there at the lights.
Has legal counsel for LOA and Allied Universal reviewed the lighting configuration of LOA security vehicles for compliance with Virginia code, specifically 46.2-102223, so forth?
I do not know that. Honestly, I could not tell you that. We do run red lights because that's what the law does allow us to run, are the red lights and stuff like that on our vehicles.
I'll send that one to you in
Send-
case you want to check
Yes,
it.
sir.
Our public restrooms seem to be regular targets of vandalism. What is security or the association doing about that?
So we were talking about this during our last safety meeting that we had. The issue is a lot of the times that these bathrooms are getting vandalized is when the teenagers are home from school, on the weekends and stuff like that. We have a certain time when we open and lock the restrooms and stuff like that. So a lot of times it can be right before we get ready to lock the bathrooms. They're out there. We can't stop people from hanging around in the parks. We can't do any of that stuff. So a lot of times it's usually the teenagers that are out there playing around. They think it's a joke. They think it's funny to go out there and, let me shove a bunch of toilet into the toilet paper and clog it up and flush it. Or the breaking fixtures. We are doing our best. We have talked with the GMs about more cameras being put out also. We do actually even put trail cams out if we have to. If we start noticing a big issue, we do put trail cams out to see if we can try to catch individuals themselves too, because it is kind of hard. Sometimes, you get a lot of people and then we do get calls, but usually it's the calls after the fact. So when we do show up, it's after the fact and there's nobody there no more. And that's a big issue that we do have. And we do know that a lot of this lake is not fenced in completely. So we have people coming from, Flat Run that come across the fences over there sometimes and stuff like that. People coming through the front gates alongside the ponds and stuff like that. These are teenagers coming in to meet their friends and then they all want to go do stuff and get in trouble. But that is a talk that we've been having because it costs a lot of money to always completely repairing stuff in the bathrooms themselves and the time we spend having to close these bathrooms down because that's what they're there for. They're there for you guys to be able to use them when you need them. But there are talks about maybe switching the hours of when we're closing them and opening them and stuff like that also, and having them closed during the off seasons also now, just to try to help alleviate some of that vandalism going on and stuff like that.
Question, do we have license plate readers in the lake or in the county?
Yes, we do. We have license plate readers at all gates, front and back.
Are you supportive of traffic slowdown measures such as speed humps to slow down traffic on Lakeview Parkway?
I do agree with that. I think it would help a little bit. I know this has been a battle among some of the committee members and stuff like that. So, but honestly, it's going to go to the board. It's going to go to the GM. That's not a decision I can make. I can talk all I want about it, but like I do say, a lot of it's just, common sense. When we're out there and we're driving, a lot of us are in such a hurry to get somewhere. Sometimes it's just not worth it because that's the thing though. Like I said, you got multiple people out there walking and stuff like that. And I understand, an extra 5 miles over the speed limit may not seem a lot, but it does when you hit somebody. It is a lot. And that's the one thing, most of us too, we give you a little bit of leeway before we pull you over. But if we catch you out there and you're doing 45, in a 25, we're going to pull you over. I mean, I'm sorry, there's just nothing to it. If you're reckless out there driving recklessly, we're going to pull you over. If you're running stop signs and stuff like that, we have people passing people on lanes that they should not be passing people on. We're going to pull you over. I mean, it's more for their safety than it is everybody else's also. So.
Why are DUIs being transported to jail by security? That removes a security person from policing here in the lake and costs us more if the security officer has to go to court.
Well, we try to help out Orange a lot of times also. So we actually did install a cage inside one of our vehicles now to help with transporting also. We are the arresting officer at that time, so we are the ones that go down to the jail. We do the full entire thing. The deputies will be the ones that usually serve the warrant on the person so that we can continue on with this. But we do the transportation because we are the arresting officer. We go before the magistrate, we file the charges, we do all that stuff.
I think this one was already answered about when to call 911 and when to call
Right.
low
Like I
security.
did say, call us for anything. I mean, honestly, but if it's an emergency, I always tell people 911 is your best friend because Orange will dispatch us out also. We are in contact with Orange Dispatch also. They call us on the radio regularly to also answer calls if we can help them out. If the deputy is not in the area, we run to those calls to try to help out as much as possible too, until, fire department shows up, EMS shows up, or the deputy shows up, because like they do say, they are spread out. And sometimes it does take a while for them to get there. So if we can get there and help alleviate the situation as much as we can and control the situation, we will do that. I mean, once Orange County shows up, we back off, Orange County takes over. We let them handle what needs to be handled. We're just more of there as just an assistance after that point with them.
Just two more. This is a suggestion rather than a question. Well, I guess it's a rhetorical question. Could you please not use the speakerphone when people call in? It's not everyone needs to hear my business. So that's
I can bring that up. Yes, that's no problem. It's something we can try to do. I will tell you guys this coming up here soon with tech control. Security is not going to be taking your calls as much as we were. We were getting over 1,000 calls sometimes in a day. And that is a lot of time we spend on that phone. That's why a lot of times people get upset because they feel like, well, nobody's over here working the window. Well, I have one person working in that office who's taking care of your guys at the coming into the gates, answering phones and dispatching at the same time. So sometimes that officer can get busy. So, you know, what's going to end up happening is we are starting to push you guys more to using tech control. You paid for this program, a lot of money for this program, and we want you guys to start using it because you can send your guests QR codes and stuff like that, which is easier when they come in. We're scanning the code and we're getting them in a lot faster. At night when the gates close, you can send pins to them. They can use a pin pad to punch in. A lot of times they have to call our officer. Our officer will let them in, but we have to still verify who they are before we let them in at night. So we are trying to get you guys to use tech control a lot more because that's what it's there for. It's a lot of money you guys are spending on that program that's not being used at its potential yet. And we're trying to get you guys used to using that potential and to cut down on the calls to security because a lot of times, you know, we get people calling in as their guest is right there at the window. Well, it takes a little bit from you putting it in to the computer to get into us. So we're having to turn your guests around a lot of times. And a lot of people get upset because they feel like we're just there trying to stop their guests from coming in. We're not. We're trying to make sure the right person is coming in.
we're done. We could be here all night. Is it true that a road with a yellow line, the speed limit is 25? If there's no yellow line, it's 15? Is that?
No, actually, the speed limits here are pretty much set. You'll see your signs. There's only certain roads here in the lake that are 15 miles per hour. I think we only have 3 roads that are 15 miles per hour. So, you know, that's the big major thing on that.
I'm going to end with a bang here. Do you feel it's appropriate for country club community security officers to wear tactical vests and drop-down thigh holsters? What operational need justifies that level of appearance in a residential setting? Does AUS corporate formally approve of these uniform configurations, or has LOA gone rogue?
No, we actually, so our uniforms, everything that's issued to them is issued by AUS, all the gear that they carry. AUS is very big on you do not carry nothing that does not belong to AUS. So if they carry a thigh rig, it's just something that's much easier for them to use. That's what it is. That person's going to depend on their equipment to save their lives. I want my officers to feel comfortable with what they have. That's what they train with. When we go shoot, we go train. They train with what they're wearing. So they are not to sit there to look intimidating. Nothing like that. It's just to protect their lives and what they feel comfortable with, what they need to use and stuff like that.
On that note, I want to thank our 3 panelists for participating tonight. Let's give them a round of applause, please. And as is our tradition, if you are able, please help carry some chairs and put them on the racks in the back. Otherwise, we are adjourned. Thank you.